Mission is a group that I partner with and run the project that I'm most closely associated with. So I work with Partners Relief and Development, and the thing that guides us is that we want free, full lives for children affected by conflict and oppression. And so Partners Australia, we're focused on Myanmar, but recently the other partners countries have branched out and are also working in Syria. So Myanmar, in between Thailand, India, Bangladesh, China, Laos. I'm the maternal health coordinator for Partners and for Earth Mission. And this is the town where I now live. This is where Kerry came and visited earlier this year, and she'll recognise pretty much 95% of the pictures because they're beautiful and she took them. So this is our clinic. At the moment, we're squished into a little corner of the Baptist church compound, and we're kind of seeing how much we can pack into that space. So we've since added on to that. This is our view from the clinic porch, is looking across to the Baptist church, and that was dry season. As you can see by how dusty it is, it's almost kind of like Australia summer. But thankfully the monsoon rains make it nice and green again. People traditionally travel by motorbike, by cow and cart, but there's also cars. But even though you see quite a few cars within our area, the majority of people cannot afford to own or drive one. So, as mentioned in the video, this is our students doing practice examinations, and our lab technician, and the students again. So what motivated me is just that really horrific number of women who die giving birth. And while my mission is very medical, it's really great because I get to include God in part of everything that I do. It's not just mums and babies. The people of this region, they know that you don't come just to hang out, just to do selfies. They know that something's inspired you to come, and it's the greatest opening to share our faith. And healthcare is such a powerful way of doing that. And I'm going to share a few stories with you that sometimes make me cry, but they motivate me and inspire me, make me angry, make me cry. Every possible emotion is tied up in these next couple of stories, and they come out of this place in Joji where we're doing this work. These two little ladies, a baby 7 and 8 for Dad. Their mum passed away about a week after they were born. There's no clinic in their village. They live in a little village on the mountain where there's 7 other houses. And the babies came reasonably easy. They were healthy, happy, and Mum did what she did with every other birth and didn't see the need to go to the clinic because nothing was different until it wasn't. And one night, I'm not sure, a week to 10 days after she gave birth, she said to her husband, "Honey, I think I'm going to die tonight." And about an hour and a half later, she had passed away. And a friend from Partners who was running a village health worker training in that area, she's an American lady, and she delights in finding people in those tiny corners where anyone else might forget them, might not know to go there. And she stumbled across this little village, this house, and this father who was a bit desperate. He's a poor farmer. He couldn't afford milk powder for his little girls, so he was doing his best, and he was doing the next best thing, which was to buy milk creamer. So, you know, the pretend milk that you put in your coffee to make you think you've got milk in your coffee? That's what these little girls were being fed. And there was enough sugar in it to keep them going, but there was no nutrition, so they wouldn't settle. They were fussy babies. They had lots of abdominal problems, and then we met them. And we've been able to commit to support those babies until they no longer need milk powder. But the next really heartbreaking thing about this isn't just that these little girls lost their mum and their 6 other siblings also lost their mum, but their older sister, who's 12 years old, had to drop out of school. Oh, whoops, I pressed the wrong button. How do I get it back? Oh, there. This is their 12-year-old sister, and she's now their mum. So she loves her sisters desperately, but she has this sad, closed-off look in her eyes, and she loved school. So we've been able to provide her with the curriculum for this year of school, and we'll continue to do that each subsequent year, so that at least either her older brother, who's 14 and who comes once a month to collect the next month's supply of milk, or her dad in the evenings can help her with her education. So there's this, it's not just loss of life, it's loss to the community, it's loss to people's sense of hope. And the father, he sat with me in the clinic and he said, how did I let my wife down? What did I do? How could I have done this any differently? And unfortunately, he couldn't have really done anything any differently, because by the time he got a warning that it was too late, he didn't have the 8 hours necessary to gather men to carry her to the nearest possible point where they could maybe get a motorcycle and put her on a motorcycle, and then get her to the nearest possible point where maybe they could get a car. He just didn't have the time, and it would have been a minimum of 6 hours if everything went to plan, but usually more like 8 or 10 hours. So Dad said, God left me that day. God left me to look after my family and to try and provide for little girls with nothing. But then he randomly met Marcy. And Marcy said, take this letter and go to this clinic. And together, this global village of people are bringing up these little girls. And Dad can work his farm, can provide for his family. And sadly, we're doing the best we can for the older sister. She'll still miss out on school. But the little girls are happy, they're healthy, they came to visit when they were 6 months old, and they're just so fat and fun and just love to engage. They wouldn't be alive if we hadn't have met them. And this is just one of many, 721 women per 100,000 births. That number of women die giving birth each year, in eastern Myanmar. Oh, I did it again. Whoops. So this next story. This little lady, she had a brother and a mother. And sadly, brother didn't make it first, and then the placenta didn't want to come. So this dad gathered men at 3 a.m. and started hurrying. We were the nearest clinic, 12 hours of travel away. Most of that is because there's no roads. It's men carrying a hammock and going as fast as they can. Her little brother was a stillborn who had a difficult birth. He was born 10 hours after she was. So that in itself wouldn't happen here. We have solutions for that. But they didn't know where to go or what to do, so they stayed. And finally someone notified them that they could get them to us. And so after the birth of the little boy, they came hurrying to us. And they got to within an hour of our team who'd gone out to meet them when we got a phone call saying, Mama died in the hammock. So unnecessary, right? Anyway, I said to the leader, please bring the baby. Let's make sure the baby is as healthy as it can be. and we can get her started with formula. There's no mum to give formula. I commit to this. This little girl will be my little girl for the next 12 months. She will be in the village with her family, but I will provide her milk. And so they came, and Dad, he didn't want to give up his baby. He said, "She's all I've got left. Please don't take my baby away." I said, "Oh, I'm not taking your baby. I'm just going to weigh her, check her over, give her a feed, and then you'll be good to go." So I took the baby into the clinic. I cleaned up the clamp site and weighed her and gave her a quick wash, gave her some milk, and came back out, and Dad was gone. I said, "Where'd Dad go?" And they said, "Oh, he went home to bury his wife. He's going to come back in 1 week. The clinic is going to foster the baby for 1 week." Well, we fell in love with this little girl. She's just absolutely the apple of everyone's eye. And as the week came to an end, the nurse who'd been doing most of the care was like, "It's going to be so hard to give her back. I want to ask if we can keep her and bring her up here. We can give her a better education. It'll be easier for Dad." I said, "You can't make that decision for her. This little girl needs to stay with her family unless her family decide otherwise." And Dad came back, and he's wearing a partner's t-shirt, and it says, "You are loved and not forgotten." And he knows the truth in that. And he came back and he saw how much his daughter is loved. And he saw that week he was back in the village with his 2 other daughters. He saw how difficult it was to be a single dad and to have the needs of a newborn baby who needed regular milk. And he prayed about it, and he came back. And this picture I just took on my phone, and I was sitting in the seat across, and I was bawling my eyes out because he was saying to her, "I love you. Your mum would have loved you. Your brother would have loved you. Your sisters will still love you. But you need to walk now. You need to walk for Jesus, both feet on the ground. And you're going to walk a different path. You're going to walk with a new family." And he kept kissing her and crying on her. And I can't imagine the pain in this decision. And he said to the nurse that was fostering and me, "Can you be her mother's? Can you bring her up? Bring her up for God. Bring her up so that she knows her heritage and she knows her family." So she's been adopted into the family. I didn't put the photo in of this nurse. She's got 3 older brothers. Her mother, her new mother, desperately had been praying for a daughter, and this took her completely by surprise because she certainly wasn't praying that God would cause another woman to leave in order to give her a daughter. And this little girl is just beloved within the community. Her dad comes once a month with the older sisters to visit, and it's created this great connection. And I love that we can do this. I love that we can love the orphan. I love that we can provide milk, but there's this frustration that wells up within me about why can't we stop the mums from dying? And so that's what's propelling me along, is this ability to train people. Oh gosh. People like this. She's the most highly trained midwife for the area. She's one of my heroes. She goes into the most hairy of situations and doesn't leave the side of anyone. Anyone that she's not sure about, she brings them to me and we find an answer. And while it's not the full-on midwife training that I've been trying for the last 9 years to start, it's providing assistance for this midwife and her colleagues. It's providing an option for the women in that area. And while I'm not Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, got a class of midwives, I've got people coming in randomly. I have a person for a week. I upskill them. I provide medicine. It's moving towards something that's providing for these women. And when I was driving up here this morning, I was thinking back about this past year and the number of women who've had safe cesarean sections and healthy live babies that wouldn't have otherwise. The women who have had somewhere to be referred to, who've had care in their language, that have had just love, and they know that when they come to our clinic, not just because it's on the Baptist compound, they know that love exists, and that's what they're getting when they come to us. We've had families from animist backgrounds ask us to pray for them. We've had the ability to start a connection, and people within their local community have been able to follow on with that. But they know at the end of the day that we are here because God's called us to be here and because we love them. There's been no services for ultrasound. Nearest is 2, maybe 3 hours away, depending on your mode of transport. We have an ultrasound at the clinic, and I do the pregnancy ultrasounds. And I asked for a handful of women to come the day that we did our training, and we ended up with 88 women who turned up that day. We had to book them for schedules for the next couple of weeks, but it's this great way to connect with the local community on the Burmese side, not just on the Karen side. So that area is where I live. That's probably my greatest passion is these mums and their babies. But pretty close after that is a project that we support down in the slums in Yangon. And this slum has come up because Yangon's expensive. People don't have birth control, so they have big families. They get displaced from where they've grown up. They've come to the city looking for work and found that everyone has come to the city looking for work. They've come because of cyclones and their land being completely flooded. And they live in the most simple and kind of horrible circumstances you can imagine. And we support a Chin group. It's a husband and wife couple and their sisters and a couple of friends who provide education and healthcare for this group. So these kids wouldn't have access to school if it wasn't for this group that we support. They teach them Burmese language, maths, science, English, games. They teach them how to be socially responsible, how to do simple things to improve their own health. A certain number of the students fit within the preschool program. A certain number fit within, the K to 6 kind of age group. And then another couple of them are able to get scholarships for transportation. Where the slum is, the buses don't stop because they know that people coming from the slum can't pay the bus fare. So kids aren't able to get to school because of this. So this year, 15 children have been able to get bus scholarships or transportation scholarships to be able to get to school each day. And next year, we're hoping to increase that to 30. We feed 50 children a hot lunch Monday to Friday. And for many, this will be their one meal of the day. And you've never seen children that age eat so carefully and so cleanly. There's no mess. And they're happy kids. They're beautiful, and they're so happy when they see you come. They love to sing. They're like kids anywhere. We get to help in special cases where extra help is needed. This family, mum and I can't remember if it's a girl or boy. I think it's a little girl. Both have severe malnutrition, and we've been able to provide them with nutritional support and encouragement through our team there in the slum. And this is them. And they're amazing. And Joy and Kerry and I were walking through this slum one day, and we saw people just darting out of these little side alleys and coming up to talk to the guy in the orange shirt and the girl in the green shirt. They're the married couple who run it. And it was kind of like how we imagine people would run to Jesus. And this hopeless pit of despair that this place is, they bring so much joy, and they bring Jesus' love to that place, and it's pretty incredible to watch. I always walk out just feeling this portion of despair at the situation, but this overwhelming encouragement of what God's doing through this little team. And that's kind of what I do.
Thank you so much, Mon. We're going to pray for Mon now and the Ministry of Partners, but particularly for Mon, as you heard by the way that Mon shared, this is far more than a career, far more than a job. This is a ministry which resonates so very, very deeply in her, as is obvious. So we're going to pray for her in that ministry and the wider Ministry of Partners.